as we mentioned, an opportunity for you to also get club officer training credit for next session for the spring or winter 2022 session. So if you're club officer, please remember to put into the chat session your name, your club name, and the role and/or roles that you hold, so that Mark Mandel will be able to give you credit for that. I would first like to thank a couple of folks here for doing just an absolute amazing job with putting all this stuff together. Mark Mandel, Patty Pick-Frankie, Mark Walton, and especially Kathy Cunningham. The four of you have done just an absolutely wonderful job in putting an amazing week together. And for that, I thank you. The district thanks you. Everyone here thanks you. And we're so excited to get to spend a week with you. So I would like to welcome to the virtual lectern your host for the week, our program quality director, the man who still is without a beverage, but is in Western Tennessee right now. Please give it up for our friend, Mark Mandel.
Thank you, friends. I'm so excited that this is finally Full Education Week. I will rectify that beverage as quick as I can, but let me just tell you a little bit of what is going on this week. So we have an amazing speaker series for you this week. It's all about the member. So please go away, tell your friends. Yes, you get officer credit if you're an officer. So please make sure to go to the chat box and give me your information. But for the members, we have an amazing lineup all week long, and it all leads into Super Saturday, which is going to be so amazing that you won't even want to watch any sort of American football this weekend, because you want to be there for Super Saturday. It's so top secret, I'm not even going to announce it until later today, but I can tell you that this is the time to be. So tonight, I am so excited to open this session with an amazing session. So here we go. As you know, a lot of ESL, English as a second language people, find their way to Toastmasters because either a manager says, hey, you need to improve your speech in a corporate club, or they just want to come and improve their speech. But their journey is very different than that of a native English speaker. Learning needs are different, and what helps them to grow confidence is something that we as club officers and as friends need to help do this. So to discuss these important questions, we are going to have an interactive session this evening led by an amazing Toastmaster. Distinguished Toastmaster Geeta Naim is a mentor and VP of membership at Boiler Talks Toastmasters Club. She's incredibly smart with PhDs, with a PhD student in Earth, atmosphere, planetary stuff and sciences at Purdue University. Has been a Toastmaster for the last 5 years. She will lead the session with 3 other amazing panel members. They'll all introduce themselves, but I can tell you that Jan Sapuruchaku, because I've been practicing that, and Miss Epi live from Florida are here this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to give it up, please, for our DTM Toastmaster Geeta Naim.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mark. Now I think if I can share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. English is the most widely language spoken all around the world, as we all know. But out of all the people who speak English, only 20 to 25% of the people are native speakers. Other 75 to 80% of the people are non-native speakers. We call them English as a second language speakers. In Toastmaster also, if we see in US itself, there are 37% of the people, 37% of the Toastmaster members are ESLs. And if we see all around the world in Toastmaster internationally, there are 49% of the people who are ESL. Although this data is coming from 2019, but we can clearly see the demographic variation by regions. So people less than 10% speaking English as their primary language, you can see here in the region of China, people speaking between 10 to 30% using English as their primary language in India, and you see the part of the Africa region. And then we see the part of the UK, people, although there are more people speaking English as their primary language. So just because of this reason, also we know that using English as a second language completely, it's completely dependent on the region we come from, the background we are in, the community we are in, and the kind of environment we get of speaking English initially. So because of this reason, we know that the ESL experience can be very different. And also you can see, so this was basically people who speak English primarily. And this has a direct correlation with people who are multilingual, because the people who don't speak English as their first language, the reason is because they are multilingual. And as you can see, the region of Africa speak more than 71 to 80% people are multilingual. And here in India also, you can see there are people who are more multilingual. So in order to talk about our unique experiences, we have 4 different ESL speakers today. Including me, there are 3 more ESL speakers, and they will talk their experience one by one. Starting from me, myself from India, and India is basically very rich in terms of languages. We have 22 official languages, but there are more than like 19,500 dialects in the country. But English is used as a second language, and with mainly in academics and official work, English is very important for us. That's the reason we have to learn English. But the way we learn English might be very different from what region we come from. You might have noticed, if you know anyone from India, like sometimes they might also have mother tongue influence, but the way they have mother tongue influence is also very different. Because for example, I am from Northern India, so my native language was Hindi, and if people is coming from South, you see that we have different language there. So definitely when we speak in English, sometimes the accent is also very different. So that's the reason we kind of have this different experience. And now if I specifically talk about myself, I did my schooling in Hindi medium school. And so the way I learned English was like I used to have like textbooks and one subject. So I used to learn English like one of the subject, like you learn mathematics or physics. But I really had challenge in college, because when I converted, when I went from school to college, it was like completely English medium. So for me, the main challenge was to really not just learn and understand English, but also to speak and communicate in English. So, but the initial challenge I had is that I had this tendency of converting English into Hindi first in my mind and then speak it up. So I think that's the main concern for a lot of ESL speakers, if you can also relate. So I think part of the reason is because we really don't, although we kind of speak English in school, colleges, and then office, but when you come home with your friends and family members, you don't get that exposure of speaking in English. And that's why, this challenge comes into picture for, I think, most of the ESL speakers. And then Toastmaster came in my life. And I think before joining Toastmaster and after joining Toastmaster, I could see like a huge difference in me speaking, because Toastmaster really gave me the platform to practice my speaking skills. So now I want to introduce our other second panel member, Jan Kezar. He is originally from Germany. He is also a 4th-year PhD student here at Purdue University in Electrical and Computer Engineering department. He has been in US for last 5 years. And Jan says that although he started learning English language in his own country for some time, but he really learned English while being in US. So let's hear it from Jan about his unique experience of learning English. Back to you, Jan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Geeta. Yeah, as Gita mentioned, I'm from Germany. I'm from the western part, like close to the border to the Netherlands. And as you might imagine, English is not really part of the normal life in Germany. There are some words taken over from the English language, but mostly it is not spoken. And so the first time I came in contact with the English language was in age 10, in the fourth year of primary school, which was actually the first time that there was one school year where English was taught in a primary school, because usually it starts in secondary school in fifth grade. So after that, it was, I think, a total like 10 school years where I had English lessons like 2 to 3 hours per week. And other than that, I remember when I was a kid, I think there were some like computer games or some Pokemon cards where I learned some English words which I pronounced very badly, I think, at the beginning, and then had to correct myself later when I actually knew how to pronounce it. So the first time I really came in contact with the English language was when I went to Torquay, England, in 11th grade for 6 weeks during a summer vacation, which was an exchange where I lived at a host family. So this was the first time I was speaking with native English speakers, which was very interesting. But on the other hand, because I was still around a lot of Germans in my everyday life, other than when I was at the host family, I didn't really feel like I took a lot of this with me. So I feel like I lost a lot after the 6 weeks were over. So when I then came to the United States in 2015, which was in the first year of my master's, also at Purdue, where I went over there with two other Germans. There it was the first time where I was for a long time, or for 1 year, in this environment where there were many English speakers. And this was the first time where I really felt comfortable speaking English, and at some point started to dream in English as well. So this was basically when it changed for me. And then at some point I even started to rewatch some movies that I only had watched synchronized in German. I started to rewatch them to get the original actor voices. So this was when it changed for me. So I hope this gave you like a quick summary. So and then some of the later time of this meeting we can talk about some of these details. For that, I want to give it back to Dieter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. And now I would like to introduce our second speaker, Toastmaster Epi Bang. She came to Orlando, Florida from Hong Kong to meet Mickey Mouse. She joined Disney Exchange Student Program after her college years in the year 1980s. And after that, she graduated from University of Central Florida and started a family. About 8 years ago, Epi joined Articulator Toastmasters Club, and over the years, she has grown her confidence in public speaking. Epi achieved DTM in District 84 in 2019. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Epi.
Hi, everyone. First of all, let me ask you, can someone, oh, it doesn't show very well. Can someone tell me the name of this monkey?
Okay.
Yep, it's
looks
blurred
like a
into your
chicken.
background.
It doesn't very well. Put it here.
Yes, put it in front of you, like, Yes, it looks like
Okay.
orangutan.
Like an orangutan.
Orangutan.
Okay.
It's
Whoever
an orangutan.
did it, you are much better than me. When my daughter Nikki was 3 years old, I taught her the names of this animal using goldfish flashcards. When it came to this one, I got stuck. I didn't know how to pronounce it, but she kept asking me. She was so excited. Then I say, it's orangutan, Nikki. It's very logical to me, because when you say the first 5 letters of this, the name of this animal is just like orange. So if you add GU, GU, and TAN 10 to it, orangutan, that's it, right? But several years later, she came back blaming me for causing her embarrassment in school. Her friends told her that it's not Oren Guten, Mom, it's orangutan. Oh, well, now Nikki and I can laugh about it. But you can see pronunciation really one of my biggest challenges. I have problem with the R, the L sound, and the V sound, and a lot more. I notice it when people frown when I speak, or they just ask me to repeat. Sometimes it really makes me lose my confidence or cause some embarrassment moments. So that sometimes is pretty bad. Sometimes I try to speak very gently, just hope that my audience would not notice that my pronunciation is not totally correct. And grammar is another big obstacle for me. It takes me a lot of time, hours to draft my speeches. I'm willing to do it because I want to come up with a speech I'm confident with and present. At least I can prepare for it. But for table topics, my grammar is totally off. Scott knows me better. Because he is in the same Toastmaster club with me. And I don't know about other ESL speakers. It seems like there's a translation process between English and Chinese in my mind. So it takes more time for me to answer a table topics question. So sometimes it's just a little bit embarrassing there. But I think as a ESL, a non-native speaker, we do have some unique advantages. You add diversity and fun to the crowd. You enrich the speech topics. For example, that I talked about my country's traditions, customs like Chinese New Year, feng shui, and even the meaning of my maiden name. The members are very interested in this because they really want to know different cultures. And at the same time, they really like to hear other people's struggles and challenges because they will resonate with their own. How other people handle their challenges can really seems very inspiring for them. So that's the thing I really think that non-native speakers can help with the crowd. And for the resources that I think Toastmasters provide a lot. For example, I have to practice my speeches. There are some champion speeches that I can watch in the YouTube and the Toastmasters website that really helps me going on. I listen to it, I observed it. That's how I learned my way along. Back to you, Chida.
Thank you so much, Epi. You not only shared the challenges you faced as an English as a second language speakers, but you also shared how good unique advantages you got being an ESL speaker. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. Now our third speaker is Sopru Zenwa. He is also a fourth-year PhD student at Purdue University in chemical engineering. Before coming to Purdue, he lived in Boston for 4 years, where he obtained his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering at Tufts University. Sopru has spent the last 7 years of his life in United States and first 19 years in Nigeria. Sopru says he has been very passionate about public speaking, and that journey led him to Boiler Talks Toastmasters Club in fall 2020, where he is currently serving as VP Education. So let's hear it from Sopru about his unique experience being an ESL speaker. Please help me welcome Sopru.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Gita. As Gita said, I'm from Nigeria. And those of you that don't know this, Nigeria is a country in Africa. And we have 3 major languages spoken by more than 80% of the country. The other 20% speaks more than 300 different languages. But one unique thing is that most of these languages, including the 3 major languages, do not have a single word in common. Because of this, and with the fact that we were colonized by the British, our official language is English. Well, that doesn't mean that everyone spoke English. For me personally, I learned how to speak English and Igbo at the same time in school. However, I spoke English in school, but I spoke Igbo at home. So there was this disconnect where I spend my whole day speaking English at school, and then I come home and I have to speak my mother tongue, which is Igbo, because my parents did not go to school and all they spoke mostly was Igbo. Also, I also learned how to speak a different variant of English called Nigerian Pidgin, which is pretty much like broken English, just by making friends with people on the streets and going to the supermarket and other places to just buy stuff. Furthermore, I also learned a lot of English by reading American novels and watching American movies. Now, in Nigeria, one thing I realized, which I didn't realize until I came to Boston back in 2014, was that my primary mode of communication back in Nigeria was a mixture of English, Igbo, and Nigerian Pidgin. It was just this subconscious switch where I was switching between 3 languages at the same time. But when I came to Boston, I realized that I had to switch between speaking English 30% of the time to speaking English 99% of the time. Well, I had a lot of challenges during this time. And one thing I also realized was that I had an accent. And when I say that I had an accent, it means I was pronouncing things differently. Well, I'm going to tell you more about these challenges later in the session. But taking together all these experiences that I mentioned made my experience of speaking English unique. And I hope to tell you more about how I dealt with these challenges later in this session. Back to you, Toastmaster Gira.
Thank you so much, Sopru. Now you can see we all have some similar and some different experiences as being an ESL speaker. And if we summarize that in first 4 key challenges for ESL speaker, we can see there are 3 sets of challenges we do see in common. So first is lack of skills. So here I'm talking about lack of speaking skills. And if you see, there are 4 main important components when we want to speak English. Grammar and vocabulary could still be part of reading English. We can learn and improve grammar and vocabulary by reading, but the fluency and pronunciation is something you cannot really practice unless you start speaking in English. So that's why sometimes it is the lack of skill for an initial, for a speaker who start to speak or learn English. But sometimes, even though we know how to speak and even though we have a good command of English language, still sometimes it's the lack of practice. And just because of this lack of practice, we have this belief in our mindset is that maybe I can't speak in public. And the reason we have this belief because we have never practiced it and we don't have enough exposure of speaking in English at our home or with our family or friends. So that's why this lack of practice comes into picture. Now, the third set of challenge could be the lack of confidence. And in my personal opinion, I find it more important than other key challenges because that's something which we really can't work on unless we really identify it by ourselves. Because sometimes it is also like, although like you might have seen, like Yan was also mentioning about it and Sopru was also mentioning about it, like they had a little bit of English exposure in their home country and, you know, with people, but sometimes it's just like, you know, it's like the extra step which we need to take in order to be very comfortable in speaking in English, because it's basically I would say, like especially in Toastmasters meeting also, we see this is something we kind of really work on, you know, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And I think here comes the role of our own leadership, like how do we feel free to make n number of mistakes and try it and improve it. So in my opinion, there are, like, you know, 3 major sets of challenges, but as you know, as different ESL speakers, we had different and unique experiences. I want to know from our 3 other speakers what were their unique challenges were and how did they overcome it. So first of all, I would like to call Toastmaster Yan again, and I want to ask him what was his unique challenge when it comes to speaking in English, and how did he overcome that and what helped him the most in overcoming that challenge. So please help me welcome Toastmaster Yan again.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gita. So in my for me, it was basically not the school education that really taught me English. And I think it gave me a basis and it was because it was all about grammar and vocabulary, but it really didn't give me enough practice in speaking. And it was also not really, and another point was also that in school I didn't really like languages as a subject. I was more into math and other things, so it wasn't really something I was really burning for. So this is why I feel like that might be the reason why I never really felt comfortable. So what this really changed when I then came to the US, where I just was in this only English speaking environment. And there was also this point that my two German friends, which I lived throughout the year, were we had this agreement that we would not speak any German with each other, even at home. And I think we had to put $1 in a jar. I actually don't know if I ever did it, but this was like the agreement that we would never actually speak German once being on US ground. And because of that, I feel like this helped me a lot, because then I was never getting out of this English mode, and I was actually getting this practice and confidence that I needed. And I think in summary, or like what I also feel like you could take out of it is that in the end, what I really needed to learn English was to have the vocabulary, because once even if you just put some words in a sentence, even if it doesn't make sense, people can still understand you. And then if you practice a lot, at some point the grammar will come automatically, and then you're not getting frustrated with it as well. Yeah. So this was my experience. Yeah. With that, I want to give it back to Gita.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rian. I think that's a great tip, for anyone who is striving to practice speaking in English. It's like having a resolution and just speak in English. Thanks for sharing that. And now I would like to call Epi again. As Epi, you were mentioning in your introduction that you initially had some issues, and now also, you had some issues in pronunciation and accent. I want to know, how did you overcome that challenge, and what helped you the most?
Thank you, Gita.
Yeah.
I'm still trying. When it comes to, whoops, my screen suddenly disappeared. When it comes to overcoming the pronunciation issue, I asked the pro. One of them is my ABC daughter. ABC stands for American Born Chinese. She learned phonics since she was little. She will tell me how to pronounce a word. If after several times my attempt and I still didn't get it, she would just say, "Mom, just don't use that word. You can't get it." So that's a very clear indicator. I should not use that word. To be honest, there are still some words, if you find that when you say it, it seems like you're speaking a Frau language, or you didn't really get it, then just replace it with another word. I say one of those words is, fluctuation. I don't think I really get that exactly. And other method is use the Google, my friend. So if you type in a word in Google, it will not only come up the meaning, but also the pronunciation. So sometimes it really helps. Of course, another one is by our Toastmasters friend. There's so many native speakers in the club, so you can just ask them for help. They would be very willing to do it. And I think some other method is, since the pronunciation may not be exactly correct, but you can try to have some other way to distract your audience. For example, you can use more vocal variety or hand gestures, your facial expressions, because that's a very well-known formula that 93% of the interpretation of a message is based on non-verbal. 7% is verbal. So if you can practice, well, that's probably not only for ESL speak, but general Toastmasters, that it will really help to enhance your speech in a way that the audience will understand it better. Thank you, Gita.
Thank you so much, Epi. They are all great tips you shared with us. I think all of us can really benefit with that, and especially for ESL when they are starting to speak initially, these tips are really, really useful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now we want to ask our third speaker, Toastmaster Sopru, about his challenges, because like Sopru, you mentioned that, you faced some challenges when you came to US from Nigeria. I want to know more about what are the unique sets of challenges you faced and how did you overcome that?
Thank you, Toastmaster Gator. Within the first week that I was in the US, I noticed that probably 90% of the people asked me, where are you from? After I spoke to them for less than a minute. I didn't quite understood because I dressed like everyone else and there were other Black people like me. But one thing I realized was for the first time that I actually had something called an accent. I pronounce words differently. So a lot of times people would always ask me to repeat myself, or they would nod when I'm asking them a question, and I could tell like this person has no idea what I'm saying. And I realized that 50% of the time, if not more, I pronounce words differently, if not wrong. And I also spoke more British English, and I was like mixing up things. For example, sometimes I would say like lift versus elevator, or trunk versus boots, and the occasional potato, ground floor, first floor, all those little differences. And it took me a while to really get a sense of, wow, Sopru, you're not really communicating well. Also, I spoke very quickly, and I used a lot of filler words just because I spoke very quickly. And one other challenge I also had was that it took me a while to understand, the typical American jokes, and also to understand the way that some of the Americans spoke. And I was in Boston and New England area, and I would try to learn the way people were pronouncing things, only for me to pay a visit to someone in Texas and realize, oh, people pronounce things differently. And I was like, wow, that means if I learn something here, it's not necessarily applicable in some other part of America. Nevertheless, I overcame some of these challenges by learning to speak slowly. I enunciated more, like I'm doing now. If you heard me 7 years ago, I just spoke what my public speaker called, my public speaking teacher called, I spoke in a staccato, which means I pretty much put the same stress on every single syllable. Yeah, I also tried to learn the difference between British English and American English. And I watched a lot of movies, I read a lot of books, and then I also pushed myself to interact more with native English speakers. And doing all these really helped me to improve a lot. One final thing that helped me improve a lot is I took on more leadership positions. And later in this session, I hope to get the chance to tell you more about these leadership positions and how they helped me. Over to you, Toastmaster Gita.
Thank you so much, Sopru. All of the tips you shared, I think they are definitely very, very useful, especially, talking to native speakers is very useful. I have also been in US for last 3 years now, and I think the exposure I also got, by talking to native speakers is very, very helpful. Although now we know that we all are kind of different in terms of our experiences, but there is one thing which is common for all of us, and that's we all are Toastmasters. So let's talk a little bit about Toastmasters as well, our unique challenges and areas of growth in Toastmaster as we find in our experiences. So we know, this Toastmaster journey is very different for everyone, especially when, we compare ourselves also, when we join Toastmaster, we are like a seed. And in order to become like a fully grown tree, we go through a lot of challenges, setbacks, failures, problems, but we also go through a lot of areas of growth. For example, for someone, writing a speech might be time consuming or frustrating. Then for other people would be like, okay, they are good in speaking, they love speaking, but they don't want to take up a leadership role. They don't want to take up the role of mentors or leaders. But that also become some people consider it as an area of growth, because for them it's like learning from each other is more beneficial than learning by themselves. And for some people, they kind of try to focus more on the goals. It's whether it's a leadership or communication, they just want to complete the goal and, improve their self-confidence and personal growth. So I didn't mention initially in the section that all of us are at a very different level in our Toastmaster journey. Now, if I talk about Toastmaster Yen, he joined Toastmaster recently in summer 2021 only. And he has been a very active Toastmasters. He's very good in speaking and giving speeches. So far, he completed his 2 projects. And now I want to know from Toastmaster Yan, like how unique his experience been in Toastmasters. What are the challenges he saw in Toastmaster and what are the areas of growth he find in Toastmasters? Toastmaster Yan, would you like to share your experiences in Toastmaster?
Sure. Thank you, Geeta. So since this is about the English language, I have to say that improving my English speaking was not the main reason to join Toastmasters. It was more to improve my general presentation skills, speaking, and in general being more comfortable to be on stage. But I noticed very quickly that there are some additional challenges that I have to face when compared to a native speaker. So for me, because of my background and being at Purdue for already 4 years, I was very used to giving technical presentations, but wasn't really used to give presentations or speaking in general about like typical Toastmasters topics, which are also important. And here I noticed that I had to catch up, and I feel like some of these I remember I have debated in German, but not really in English. So this was something which helped me. And I think the main thing the main challenge and the main thing I feel like I took out of my 6 months of Toastmasters was that I wasn't really used to these table topics and to spontaneously speak about a topic. And I feel like this is something that helped me very much. And I feel like that often you could, like if you write an email or if you prepare a presentation, if you put enough time in, you can kind of hide a little your uncertainty. But if you really have to speak spontaneously on the spot, this can be a lot harder. And this is something I enjoy, and I noticed every week that I can have to practice this a lot more. Yeah, with that, I want to give it back to Geeta.
Very rightly said, Toastmaster Yan. In fact, table topics is something which I think most of the Toastmasters are scared of. And this is something like, definitely you said very rightly that, table topic is something which really exposes you as a speaker. And like table topics, there is another area which I think most people and some people are scared of, which is the leadership thing. Some people love it, some people just don't want to do it. Because of so many different reasons. But we have one Toastmaster here who loved leadership. And in his journey of Toastmasters, he joined Toastmasters 1 year back only. And within his journey of 6 months, he became the VP education of the club. And now he's mentoring the club. In fact, he's loving mentoring and encouraging other Toastmasters to complete their goals in Toastmasters. So one of such Toastmaster is among us is Toastmaster Sopru. And I want to know from Toastmaster Sopru about his leadership experience in Toastmaster and how this leadership experience helped him or can help other ESL members to become better in English.
Thank you, Toastmaster Geeta. Before I came to Purdue, in my undergraduate, I took some classes on communication, and I also took a class in public speaking. And when I came to Purdue, I realized how much I wanted to become a better speaker. I was very interested in things like storytelling and public speaking. And I searched around and I found Toastmasters. When I joined Boiler Talks Toastmaster Club in the fall of 2020, I didn't really have a good idea of what I was signing up for. But I would say that after I signed up, I actually realized that this was actually a club that gave me the opportunity to tell stories and gave me the opportunity to do a lot of public speaking. So I signed up for more speeches. I tried to get more involved. I volunteered for events. And in the spring of 2021, I decided, hey, why don't I try my hands at becoming the VP of Education? When I attended the first VP of Education training, I was overwhelmed. I literally had to go back and ask myself, what did I sign up for? But I would say that this journey, although initially it seemed very difficult at first, it has really helped me a lot to contribute to other members' growth. And as I was contributing to other members' growth, it also indirectly helped me become better in my public speaking, in my practicing of English, and in just overcoming a lot of those challenges that I identified earlier in my speech. And in general, I would say Toastmasters leadership is very unique because I would say this experience has really given me the opportunity to just commit more to Toastmasters, because now that I'm within the leadership, I'm able to commit more, and I'm able to also improve myself and also help other people grow. So thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm Toastmaster Gitter, and I give the floor back to you.
Thank you so much, Sopro, for sharing your experience. Definitely, I too agree with it. Responsibility definitely kills your fear. Within my journey of Toastmaster as well, taking up all this leadership role definitely helped me. And I think part of the reason why this Toastmaster tagline is also, where leaders are made and it's not like where communicators are made, is because I think there is a lot more you improve being a leader and then just like a speaker. So leadership definitely help you in a way, and when your intention and when you started seeing your growth as seeing others growth, that's like, I think definitely another level of growth. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Now I want to ask Epi. So Epi is a DTM. So DTM is like completing all the projects of leadership and communication. Toastmaster Epi, you have seen the journey of Toastmaster pretty much. You have been part of Toastmaster for the last 8 years. I want to know from you, what do you think, like how Toastmaster can help ESL members, and also how Toastmaster can grow with having more ESL members? Toastmaster Epi, do you want to share your experience? Yeah.
Sure. I think first of all, for anyone to benefit from the meetings, we all have to attend persistently, attend the weekly meeting, and then at the same time observe. Especially for ESL members, you can always observe the native speakers about about the slang, about how they pronounce, and how the word choices. It's a very valuable resources for not only ESL members and of course for everyone. We can all share. It's a nice platform that different cultures are gathered, and then we all share our different cultures and experience. And at the same time, we can learn from each other. So when you ask how can we accept more ESL members, I think it's by word of mouth. Because if one of our members, for example, Yan or Sapporo or even myself, we can benefit from the meetings, then we can ask, okay, Paul or someone else, our friend, just come over because this really helped me. I think it can help you too, just by word of mouth. And probably you can also try do an advertise to some of the association, for example, cultural association, maybe to the Indian group in the community, or even attend some of the festivals that even the Chinese festival, New Year's, or even the community, they have all kind of spring festival or cultural festival. You can attend and set up a booth there. Then you can maybe have a like TV or something, show how the meeting is conducted and give out prize. Let them sign up right away and then keep in contact with them. I think in that case, if they see the example live, they will be more interested in it. That's my take on it, Gita.
Thank you so much, Epi. And I think that's a very beautiful message because most of the times we think, okay, ESL speakers are learning a lot from Toastmasters club because we are practicing, but we also have to see, the way the club environment is, and the kind of diverse club environment it becomes when having more ESL speakers. It also adds to the growth of everyone in the club. So having more ESL members definitely help you, in general, all the club members to have better interest and understanding about other cultures and other interest. So thank you so much, Epi, for sharing. And now I just want to conclude with the final slide of mine, where I pretty much want to summarize my experience of Toastmasters with this slide. Is that for me, what I learned in Toastmasters is that the more comfortable you become in making mistakes, the better you become in speaking, because and you start understanding that language is really essentially not an art which you have to master. It's a tool to play with. It's like, when you play those video games and you kind of, if you get stuck and you don't just give up on that, you just keep trying, and you keep trying in a way that you want to succeed. And you definitely succeed because you have that kind of enthusiasm and positivity in you. And I think in a sense, Toastmaster Club also gives us that kind of positivity and enthusiasm, where after every speech, no matter how many mistakes did we make, we still come up in the second meeting and try to improve. So I think the criteria of judgment is not like the right and wrong. Here, the criteria of judgment is that how much we have improved from our past. And I think that's a very great notion of learning language. So with this, I would like to thank our all speakers. Definitely being an ESL is definitely a unique kind of experience we have, unique sets of challenges and advantages we have. And today we learned from our three speakers. And now I want to thank all of them and open the floor for general question and answer. If anyone has any question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, or put it in chat so that we can monitor questions and ask. And if you have any preference of asking questions from a specific speaker, feel free to let us know that. Thank you.
Geeta, I'll start with the first question, if I may.
Sure.
So one of the things that I've found, so I mentor somebody who lives in Shanghai, and you mentioned already earlier about speed of speech. So what's the one thing that your speakers would advise club members who are helping people with English as a second language? You know, I week after week, I see from my own club even, you had 26 ums and 16 ers, and it's more fault finding than helping to support. And I know you mentioned speed. That was the first thing that I've learned from working with my colleague in Shanghai. But what are the one thing that you, if you could do it all over again, all of you, how would you help? What would you tell the club to help you to grow? What's that one thing that you would say, this is what I need from you?
Okay.
That makes sense. Does that make sense?
I think me and Sopru were discussing about this point the other day. And I think part of the reason is when you talk about speed, and you might have noticed that some speakers tend to have this problem of speed than other speakers. And I think that also comes from what was your primary language. Now, my primary language is Hindi, right? So if you understand me speaking in Hindi, you would definitely see what I'm speaking. So the pace I maintain in Hindi, and if I speak in English, I try to match that same pace in English as well. So that's why, because Hindi is usually a fast-paced language, and that's why it comes like that. And now you might have noticed, like Epi is also an ESL speaker, but her pace is not that fast. And I think because she's practicing, and all of this effort is coming into picture. And if you like see Sopru speaking, and I think he was also, maybe Sopru can also add in that point. I was asking him to speak his native language, and the way he spoke in the native language, and it was like, for me, it was like pretty much same pace I kind of sometimes feel he has in English language as well. So, Sopru, do you want to mention one of your technique you use, because you said that you improved a lot, slowing down, because you also, came from Nigeria and you had the similar issue. Do you want to share that?
Yeah. So one thing that helped me with slowing down was when I'm talking to someone, I try to look at them. And then as I'm looking at them, you can get this subconscious feeling of if they're actually following what you're saying. And that just helped me a lot to slow down, because before, the reason why I spoke very quickly was I wasn't very aware that I actually had an audience. But now that I'm aware that I have an audience, I just like to slow down. I try to enunciate. And then from people's, maybe verbal and non-verbal feedback, you can be able to tell, hey, am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? So doing all these things helped me a lot. And if, one thing I'll say, if you see someone that you're trying to help, someone that wants to improve in their speaking, and you notice that, okay, maybe they're speaking very fast, there isn't a lot of filler words, you can suggest to them, maybe try slowing down, try taking pauses, try taking break, trying to enunciate. Because when you're trying to enunciate words, that just helps you to slow down, because then people can understand what you're saying. A word is not going to sound like something else. So those are my own tips. Back to you, Geeta.
Thank you so much, Sopru. And it's also, I think, comes with practice. The more practice and more comfortable we become in speaking to native speakers, that really helps. Because when I was in my lab, first year, so I used to get this feedback, okay, you speak a little fast. And they were kind of very humble in giving this feedback. But I think talking to them more often and giving presentation every week really helped me in slowing down. Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for this question. I think it's a great question. Yes, Scott.
Epi, one of the things that I've watched over the years with you is kind of this continual growth. And our club has long said that we're kind of like a box of puppies, that it's very relationship driven, and we're very friendly, very welcoming, very warm. And we've been together now as a club, but with a core group of members now for probably a decade. How much has the relationships that you have with members in the club, how has that helped you have the confidence to grow as well, besides just the technical aspect? Talk a little bit about the relationships and how that might have helped or hurt.
What kind of relationship you're talking about? Just kidding. I think it's really nice to have good bonding with the group members, because sometimes when you have confidence in someone, then you can ask them for candid evaluation of your speeches, of your evaluation speech, and even the table topics. And especially like Scott, you have told me before, I still remember you are so kind to tell me, Epi, you didn't pronounce that word very, very correctly. That word is February. Because I say it so quick, I say February. And you, after the speech, you say, if you don't mind, I would like to say, you don't have to take it, but this is how you pronounce it. You say supposed to be February. Now I know, because I don't even notice that. So that's why I really appreciate that you and I are close enough that you can tell me, and I would not mind that you told me, because I know that you want me to be better. And that is say in Chinese, say, if you tell someone an advice, you're putting money in that person's pocket. So I really appreciate that. So when you talk about relationship, I would say if you have confidence in your club members, you are in good relationship with them, then you can ask them for feedback. And I would not be embarrassed to ask you, Scott, how should I pronounce this word? So I think that's the answer right there. Thank you, Scott.
Anyone else has any question or feedback or anything else they want to share? If not, I have a question for all of you, especially from native speakers. So the other day I was asking to one of my friend, he's a native speaker here, Chris, he's our president as well. I'm not sure if he's here or not. So he was mentioning that, okay, you are talking about your mother tongue influence and the different types of languages, primary languages and all. But if you know that in US also we have so much variation in speaking in English as well. So if anyone would like to comment on that part, like if they have come from a different region and they might have noticed a huge variation or like a difference in English. Yeah, Joseph, please.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Gita. I'm not from Indiana originally. I grew up in Mississippi. And in Mississippi, the dialect, words, pronunciation, enunciations are totally different. I used to say, if I was saying, did you ask? I would say, did you ask? I would always drop the K and put an X. And it was not until I came to Indiana and was in a class that one of my professors came to me and said, stop dropping the K, drop the X as the K. It's not X, it's ask. So we do have regional dialects, and it takes some adjustments, even here in the United States.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for sharing your experience. Yeah. This is very interesting, you know, like in America also, you do see that kind of variation. And it's hard to understand sometimes.
I see Miss Patty has her hand raised. Patty?
Yeah, Patty?
Yes, I just wanted to comment that I have lived in different parts of the country, and I tend to pick up accents really quickly. So sometimes when you speak to me, if I've been in one part of the country, I may sound completely different.
Wow.
But I've spoken to many people who say that they can't, even though they're English as a primary language kind of people, that they still can't understand other people speaking English. And you know, the difference between the British English and the American English can be that different in different states as well. Particularly if anybody's ever been to Pittsburgh, they actually have a published glossary for how to understand the words that they use, because they're so different, just like British English and American English. So it is, you know, people think that if you've been in one part of the United States, you've been to one part, and that is so not true.
Wow.
As a native Pittsburgher, I can absolutely attest to the fact that Yinzers talk funny.
Yes.
We are called Yinzers.
And just different parts of the state. I'm from Southern Indiana, and people will add R to words that are not supposed to have R, such as wash the car, but instead it's wash the car. And
Okay.
as long as you speak slow enough, I think you can pretty much understand almost any accent, as long as, I think I appreciated, I hope I say your name right, Sopuru, I appreciated what you said about focusing on trying to have the other person understand you. It's not about me looking good or saying the right words, and it doesn't matter what you, if you think you sound good, it matters more if you communicate what you're trying to say and that person understands it. Not so take the focus off of you and put it more on the other person, and you will communicate better.
Definitely, it's a great tip.
Even when you're washing your car.
I'm not even going to say anything about Americans and Scrabble. Let's just leave it there. Geeta, our time is up. Do you
Sure.
have any closing words before I close out the session?
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't have any other questions, so I think we just want to thank our panel member and thank you everyone for being such a nice audience. Thank you. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. It has been an absolute privilege. I've learned so much this evening. Friends, the fun is only just starting. We'll talk more about that in a moment. On behalf of the district, if I can get my PowerPoint to work, we have certificates of appreciation for all of our members. So Geeta, congratulations and thank you. And to Epi as well, thank you. Sopro, thank you as well. And of course, Jan, I very much appreciate all of you. These will find their way to you in email as soon as I can figure out how to get them from my work email. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Friends, tell everybody we have only just started. We have one heck of a week coming up. Tomorrow, you're going to understand why I don't know how to use Zoom in our Zoom 101 session. Wednesday, we're going to talk about the OBS studio. I'll tell you more about that, but I don't know any more about that. You have to come Wednesday. Thursday, we are going to dig even deeper into Zoom. There is stuff that Zoom does that Zoom doesn't even know, but we have an amazing speaker coming in. And Friday night is one you do not wish to miss. So book your tickets now because we're having an amazing speaker Friday. It all leads up to Super Saturday, which I'm not going to tell you any more about, but I'm going to direct you to our website, toastmastersd11.org, full education. Friends, it's been real. And I'm going to hand it back to Scott.
Thank you, everybody. Mark, fantastic job. To all of our speakers tonight, thank you so very much. Geeta, what an amazing job you did monitoring this session and taking us through. Please give it up one more time for all of our presenters tonight. Thank you all so very, very much. Excellent, excellent job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I invite you to come back every single night this week and spend Saturday morning and early afternoon with us as we do another